Hi, I'm Helen Davis from One Step Forward, and I'm going live a couple of days later than I intended with part 3 of my series on me and my bones, my personal journey through and beyond a diagnosis of osteoporosis. So I did say that this episode was going to be about statistics, exciting stuff, but actually I'm bumping that to next time because I want to follow up from my last video. So if you haven't seen that, I do invite you to have a look back at previous ones if you find this useful. In my last video, I was talking about suggestion, the power of suggestion, and particularly the risk of receiving negative suggestions about prognoses and so on and taking them on board. So today I decided that I wanted to share my own personal positive suggestion that has come out of all of this, because this underpins everything that I'm talking about, and this underpins my approach to how I am choosing to work with this diagnosis. And I was lying in bed the other night. We've had some really strong winds here in the last few days, and the other night I was lying awake in the early hours listening. I'd been woken up by the wind. And I was listening to the wind howling through the trees. There are some big oak trees really quite close to my home. And I was lying there listening to the wind whistling through them. And part of me was wondering how sturdy those three trees actually are. And I suddenly remembered the phrase that I want to talk about today, that has been going through my head for the last couple of weeks. Strong, flexible, resilient. Now, these words came to me out of the blue very recently when I was struggling to get my head around this diagnosis I'd been given, around the news that my skeleton is officially crumbling. That's how it felt. That's what I believed I was being told when I got the diagnosis in my 50s, just a few weeks ago. And I knew that I needed something to hold on to. I've already talked about how the conversation with the nurse, she gave me what she considered information, which with my understanding of hypnosis, I knew were very powerful suggestions that I had to consciously let go of so that they didn't become part of the story that I told myself. And so I wanted something to counter these suggestions. And here they were, these words: strong, flexible, resilient. They filled the space that I was looking for. I don't know where they came from. They just appeared, fully formed. And I knew the moment I felt those words, I heard those words, however we want to put it, that they were going to help, that they were going to send me a really strong message to my system, a message of hope and a positive suggestion that would indeed counter those negative suggestions that I'd heard and that I kept hearing and reading every time I read or looked or listened to something about what this diagnosis means. Strong, flexible, resilient. And so as I lay in bed the other night listening to the wind howling through the trees, those words came back again. And as I have been doing, as I heard them, I simply started repeating them as a mantra. A mantra simply being a phrase that we repeat over and over again. And I repeated them, and as I did so, I connected with my skeleton. I connected with my bones. And I sent the suggestion to my bones that they are strong, powerful, and resilient. And this is what I've been doing with this, and I find it very, very helpful. And then I started thinking at the same time about how perfectly those words describe the trees themselves. I found myself sending strength not only to my own bones, but also to the trees, trusting the trees to withstand the storm. And I also remembered that every time I tell somebody the story of the fall in which I broke my wrists, I use the phrase, I came down like a tree. Trees are hugely important to me. I need to go and spend time in trees for my own well-being. And when a tree crashes to the ground, we're always shocked and upset. There's something really fundamental about seeing this enormous, powerful being lying there, prone, just crashed on the ground. But one of the reasons we are so shocked when it happens is that it's so unusual. For every tree that falls in a storm, there are thousands that stay standing. They bend in the wind, they sway, they may lose the odd branch, but most of them do not fall to the ground. They are strong, flexible, and resilient. And the flexibility is key to this as well. Strength without flexibility isn't helpful. Flexibility is absolutely crucial, and the strength and the flexibility together create the resilience. So this is my mantra. This is the powerful suggestion that I give myself every day. I am strong, powerful, and resilient. And these words apply to every level of my being, however we want to look at those levels. Physically, mentally, emotionally. I am strong, flexible, and resilient from my very bones to my sense of self. And this is fundamental to this journey that I'm sharing with you at the moment. I don't know exactly where it's going. I have a pretty good idea of the things I'm going to talk to you about, but I don't quite know where we're going to end up. But if you're finding it interesting, useful, whether you're following along with me now, whether you're watching it all on replay at a later date, if these words resonate with you, I invite you to adopt them yourself as your mantra. Or indeed to find your own variation. Maybe those aren't quite the right words for you. Find the words that are, let them come to you. And whenever you feel challenged, whenever you feel that your core is threatened, return to them. Give yourself the positive suggestions that will help you create the strength, the flexibility, and the resilience that you need for whatever it is you're facing at the moment. And if you'd like to share with me how these words have helped you, what they mean to you, or indeed the words that come up for you in their place, I'd really love to hear it. So thank you again for watching. I'll be back in a few days with the next part, when I am going to talk briefly about statistics, which doesn't mean I'll be talking about numbers. I'm just talking about the ability to maintain an understanding of how statistics should be read and interpreted. In other words, don't believe everything you read. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Take care.